complex narratives of being taken by alien beings into UFOs on beams of light.
The Air Force is trying to cover up with a picture of Venus and the moon.
From my own point of view, I'm going to be very disappointed if UFOs turn out to be nothing more than visitors from another planet, because I think they could be something much more interesting.
I'm not telling you that. The United States government is telling you that.
Hey guys, how's it going? Happy New Year to you all, and welcome back to the first show of 2023 here on the Disclosure Team channel. Now, this is my first show back in the new year, but it's also my first ever solo YouTube show. I have no interview, I have no guest to interview. I might have a guest jumping in at some point, but I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how long it's going to go, but I wanted to do like a more chilled show for the start of the year. Just talk about some of the stuff that we got up to in 2022, but then really focus on what's coming up in 2023. More for myself, Disclosure Team, a little bit UAP Media UK, and other things like that. So along with all of that, I wanted to kind of open up the questions. So if any of you guys want to ask me anything at all, as long as it's pretty much UFO related, then pop your questions in the comments in capital letters and then I can see them. But this is probably going to be a little bit more interactive with the chat than any of my previous shows that I've done before, because, you know, I had to focus on the guests, the interviews. So before we get into anything, let's jump into the live chat. So the first comment I had before we went live was from Sawan, who says the UFO bubble goes pop. There is no effing UAP report. Well, we haven't got the UAP report yet. There is a UAP report from what I've heard from the people I've spoken to up until only a couple of days ago. It's just late. And yes, it's 2 and plus months late, but it'll come. Whether it's any good, I don't know. I just don't know that, but we'll get it. So I'm not worried about the UAP report. Whatever we get, and that's it. But I'm not resting all of my hopes and the future of this year on the UAP report. It's just something else that we can incorporate into going forward. So I don't think the UFO bubble's gone pop, but hey, we're all different. Anderson 2K, thank you so much for, I'm going to bring this up, a 22 Norwegian kroner super sticker. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Fifi Barbara, you know, Vinnie, saw you on IG Live just now. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Fifi. Yeah, I just did an hour-and-a-half Instagram Live. I'm going to be doing a lot more of them this year as well. Who else have we got? Jose is here. Good to see you, Jose. Dutch UAP Disclosure. Wilfred, Happy New Year, my friend. I hope you're doing well over there in Holland. Moon is here. How's it going, Moon? Good to see you. We've got UAP Experiences. Steph, how are you? Always good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Who we got here? Stargazer Eternal Stargazer Eternal One. Thank you for being here, and everyone else that's watching that hasn't commented, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. After all, like 120 roughly interviews that I've done over the past kind of year and a half, I'd say this is probably the most nerve-wracking show that I've done. You know, I don't know what to do because I can't just like ask a question and sit back and wait for a response and, you know, counter that with more questions. So please bear with me. But what we are going to do is talk about a few things, like I said, from last year, this year, and go from there. And so I'm going to bring up a lot of things on screen to talk about. And I'm going to bring the first thing up now that I really want to talk about is our ongoing UAP Media UK charity fundraising raffle. As you can see, here we go. You can win a call with Lou Elizondo, and as well as many, many other prizes. We have The Skies Above map from Dan and Andy at That UFO Podcast. We have Ryan Sprague's book, John Greenwald's book, a copy of Estimate of the Situation. These are all signed, all the books as well. We've got some artwork by Olof Rockner. And we all remember this strange logo that appeared earlier in 2022. Well, they did release some patches, and we've been lucky enough to get hold of one that we're going to give away. We have a signed Bob Lazar sports model print. We have a beautiful piece of artwork of the mountain in Colombia that myself and Dan and Ashley and the team investigated earlier in 2022. Lara's just, look at that. It's just beautiful. If you can look here, you can see you might not be able to see it, the three little sort of orb lights. We've got a full collection of Graham Rendell's signed UFO books, a copy of Goblin Problems by Sean Cahill, this crazy 3D UFO smart lamp by Demon House designed. It's just a serious bit of kit. We've got a signed first edition copy of Dr. David Clarke's book, The UFO Files. This one was actually published by the National Archives themselves. Set of Christmas decorations. They are incredible. I had a set last year and they're just amazing. The Christmas cards that we released just before Christmas, so you can win them, and obviously they'll be great for next Christmas if you want to hand them out to friends. I know the majority of people kept them and didn't want to hand them out at all, because every single one is done by a different artist within the UFO community. And my goodness, there are so many talented people in the community. We have a signed copy of the Calvin photograph signed by Dr. David Clarke, who is kind of the head of our little team that discovered and released the photograph. This print was printed by the Forensic Analysis at Sheffield Hallam University. So it's the first ever print of the Calvin photograph since it was in new hands. So that's pretty special. It was given to me by Dr. David Clarke, and I just like, this has got to go into the community somewhere. So we have a signed copy of the book covers from Graham's books done by Dan Zetterstrom and Olof Rockner. And these are incredible. These are like bigger than, no, they're probably about as wide as what you can see my hands now. They are beautiful, beautiful prints. I've got a copy of each. They would look beautiful on a wall. We have this beautiful Eric Stitt art print signed by the artist. And finally, a bunch of holographic stickers by Dan Zetterstrom himself. And what I'm going to do now is, if you want to be in for a chance of winning one of those, we'll discuss how you can do that. So to win the private Zoom call with Lou Elizondo, that goes to the highest bidder. The highest bid as of the 16th of December. So that's some time ago, a few weeks ago. I'll have to get the updated bid for that, but it was at £110, which I think is about $140, $150. So the highest bid, and that's like a 20-minute roughly Zoom call, one-on-one with Lou Elizondo. For everything else, if you look, there is an enter here button there. There's an enter here button there, and it will take you to this page where you can buy your tickets to enter. Now, you can enter once for £1.50. I think that's about $2. Or you can buy multiples of, just by adding the quantity. You can buy 10 tickets, 30, 60, 120, and so on and so forth. And it's a Shopify payment system. So it's completely legit. And this is the most important bit that I probably should have said at the start, is that all proceeds will be split between Cash for Kids and the Humane Society International. So 100% of proceeds goes to these two charities, split completely 50-50. Nobody else sees a penny of it. It goes directly to them. So it's an amazing cause. You know, we did it last year. We raised $24,000. We've not raised as much this year. I mean, cost of living has gone up ridiculously globally. So, but every little helps, doesn't it, when it comes to charity? So I need to get the updated figures because it hasn't been updated since the 16th of December. But I wanted to start off by sharing this charity fundraiser, because the beautiful thing about being in this community is that we can use it to do good for the world and charities and anybody and that's in need, really. I'm a big proponent for charity. I've done a lot of charity work this year, and you know, it's for good causes. So what can I say? So yeah. If anybody has any questions about it, pop it in the live chat. Even if we've moved on to something else, I'll still try and cover it. What is the link for the Lou Call auction? So if you go into the description of this show right now, the top link is the UAP Media UK raffle. And it's the highest donation. So it's a guessing game at the moment. On this, it says £110 is the highest. That might have changed. I don't do the updating, unfortunately, on this site. I think Dan does it, and he's in Mexico. So you kind of have to bid, you know. If it's at £110 now, you may offer 150, let's say, but the next person might offer 200. I think last year, the highest bid was $6,000 or pounds. I can't remember which. Now, we're not expecting to go that high this year. Obviously, it'd be great if we did, but it's kind of however many bids you put in for that Lou Call still enters you in with loads of bids to win one of the other prizes below. So even if you miss out on that high bid for the Lou thing, you still have way more chances of winning these prizes as well. So thank you so much. Steph has just popped that in the chat. Thank you so much, Steph. I love my moderators. Thank you so much. I do see questions popping up as well for the AMA, so I will get to them probably towards the end of this video. So yeah, like I said, guys, this is really strange for me. I really do appreciate you guys being here, and yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And so I didn't want to spend too much on 2022, but there's a couple of big things for me, which was obviously going to Colombia and filming for season 1 of Phenomenology. But rather than going over what we did in season 1, because we've done that in previous interviews and videos on this channel, what I'm going to do is in a little while, I'm going to talk about what we're going to be doing a bit more in season 2. But again, only briefly, because again, I've covered that on this channel in my interview with Ashley Cowie. But we are going to announce some new team members who are going to be joining us in Colombia. This is the first time that we've said who they are. And it's, you know, I've not met these people yet. So this is all a bit of a new reveal for me as well. And another huge thing for me last year was being involved in the release of the Calvin photograph. You know, I was very lucky to be involved with a small team of 4 people with Dr. David Clark on the, you know, the reveal of that photograph that had been missing from the public eye for 32 years. Now, we could argue till the cows come home about what it shows, but I think the one thing that I was really proud of was being involved in a team that worked so hard in their investigations and the work that it took to get that photograph and then get it out to the public. So I have to give a huge shout out to the team as well. David, myself, Matthew Eilsley, and Giles Stevens were the core team. But then on the back of that, we had all the guys at UAP Media UK who really helped with everything and supported us all the way through. So yeah, awesome. Moving on. I'm looking at your guys' questions and stuff to see what I should talk about next. I've actually got a Word document as well. The UAP report, I mean, I guess that was something that we were expecting October 31st and would probably be talking about still to this day, yet it hasn't come. And it's frustrating for some people more than others. I don't put all my eggs in one basket. So for me, the UAP report is always going to be an added bonus to this subject, depending on what it shows. If you guys remember, I think it was early December, Chris Sharp and Josh Boswell of the Daily Mail, they had spoken to some people within Arrow or the Pentagon somewhere, and they realized, or they were told, that there were about 360 odd cases that had been looked at in the last year leading up to October. And I think half of them had been unexplained. You know, we heard about drones in the Middle East with orbs sort of, I'd say swarming, but I think there was like 3 orbs or something swarming around these Reaper drones in the Middle East and things like that, which really, you know, intrigued me that we're getting reports like that. Now, if that's contained within the UAP report that we see, then that's really going to ask some questions, but it's really hard to judge, isn't it? When we consider that June 2021, we had 9 pages to kind of cherry pick and really try and pull some information from something so minute. So it might be like that again. We don't know. We don't know if it's going to be short, if it's going to be more in depth. Yeah, it's going to be hard to kind of understand, let's say. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's talk about 2023 for me, disclosure team, UAP Media UK going forward. It's no secret that I'm going to be out in Colombia again in April. I think it's tomorrow is the 5th of January. So 3 months tomorrow, I fly back out to Colombia. And this is where we continue our investigation into this mysterious light phenomena on the mountain. And I've shown this on a previous video, but this time we're going to, we've got a little bit extra to add to it. So let me just get rid of some tabs. Here we go. So we're still looking for team members. This team this year is going to be a lot bigger than last year. We've got 3 new members confirmed to the team that we had last year. And I think we got another couple of team members to announce next week. So if anybody is interested and coming out to Colombia and joining the team, you can head here to uapcolombia.com/PS2. Again, the link is in the description of this video. And you'll hit this page, which will give us a season 2 overview, dates for the trip, which is the 6th of April till the 14th. I'm actually going to be there a day early and possibly a day later. I can't remember. I booked the flight a while back. But this is the current team, which is going to be added to. So Ashley Cowie, a lot of you may have seen from season 1. Obviously, he's the kind of the head honcho, let's say, of the team. Next up, we have one of our new members, Elena Loftus. For anybody on UFO Twitter, you may well be familiar with Elena. She's a writer and a UAP investigator, but she comes with so much knowledge of the subject that she's going to be such an amazing addition to the team. Then you have myself. Natalia is Ashley's wife, returning. Now, this guy, Hayden Kalnin. Hayden is a new team member as well from Australia. He's coming all the way from Australia, which is amazing. He is a composer, a songwriter, and a producer who obviously has an interest in the subject. I've not met him yet. This is something we're going to be doing next week, but obviously he's met Ashley. He's vetted him and made sure that he's cool and all that good stuff. I can't wait to meet Hayden. Then we're coming down to the next line. We have Stefan Muller from Germany. He's again another new team member. He is an archaeologist and language specialist. So that skill set is really going to play into the kind of work that we're going to be doing in season 2, which is bigger and better than season 1. We'll get to that in a minute. Next up, we have returning Mr. Walter Payne, the space analyst and drone pilot. Walter is amazing. He is connected in military realms in the DOD, the Pentagon, and all that kind of stuff with people. He's just incredible, the knowledge that guy has. Very, very data-driven, very analytical, just inspirational, I'll put it at. You know, when we were having conversations in Colombia earlier in 2022, Walter kind of puts you on that level that you need to be at when you're thinking about things in an analytical way. You don't jump the gun, you take steps in your investigation. I learned an awful lot from that man, and I can't wait to work with him again this year. Next up, we have everybody's favorite, Mr. Dan Zetterstrom, the Signal from that UFO podcast and all that stuff. Dan obviously is in Mexico right now, traveling. He is going to be meeting us in Colombia. He's not coming back over to these shores between now and then. Next up, we have Natalia Castellanos. She is the film producer who worked on season 1. Absolutely amazing. And then finally, it says you. So if you are interested and want to be a part of it, then you can. The details are, again, the link is below for this document where you can apply and stuff like that. I'm not going to go over this itinerary because I went over it in my interview with Ashley Cowie a week or two ago, but I will tell you we're going to be there in April, which is Holy Week, which is when the lights are said to be most prominent over the years, and so we're kind of aiming for that peak when, you know, it's when the seasons change from the really dry period to the wet, which is really interesting. You know, we're trying to do it strategically, and yeah, it's going to be good. And I'm sorry if I keep saying and yeah, and I'm just not used to being the prominent speaker on these kind of videos, so please bear with me, guys. Thank you. This thing here is here, Lake Guadavita. This is what I'm really excited about. Lake Guadavita featured in an episode of Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates, which Ashley was a part of. And Lake Guadavita is the basis and the origins of the myth of I always forget it. The Lost City of Gold. Come on, someone in the chat help me out. What's it called? The Lost City of Gold. I did this on the last video that I said. It always just jumps out of my head at the last minute. But anyway, this lake that you can see here is historically said to have UFOs going in and out of the water. So obviously this is somewhere I'm really interested in going, and it's absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Walter and Miss Dangered and Davey. El Dorado. I don't know why. You know, sometimes things just pop out of your head. El Dorado. Thank you. Yeah, so Lake Guadavita is said to be the origins of the myth of El Dorado. An awful lot of gold has been found in this lake, like an awful, huge amount, including some of these things that you see up here on the screen. We're going to be visiting the Gold Museum to look at the history of artifacts as well. So we're really connecting the kind of ancient history of the UFO sightings in this area of Colombia with, you know, things that we've seen. We saw it in 2022. So that's kind of what we're doing. There's lots of stuff coming up. So if you head to this page, if you are interested in possibly joining the team, then it tells you what you'll need to bring, how fit you need to be. There's the interview I did with Ashley. And then if you are interested still in joining the team, you can fill out this form and get in touch with Ashley, who will talk you through everything. Obviously, the trip isn't free, but it's very, very reasonably priced for what you get to be involved in. So yeah, we'll see. You know, we'll see how the team develops from here. So yeah. I'm gonna highlight this question now because it relates to phenomenology. So Dan Williams says, for Phenom Season 2, any thoughts on replicating the UAP expedition instrument setup for detection? Man, if you look at the equipment that UAPX had in things like Terror in the Sky, I mean, it would be a dream to have that kind of equipment. We don't, unfortunately. You know, some of the scientists that they had, or that are part of UAPX, they develop this equipment themselves. We don't have that kind of expertise in our team, unfortunately. What we do have, though, is the equipment we used last year, so drones and cameras and stuff like that. This year, I'm actually going to be taking out a very expensive drone with thermal capabilities, infrared capabilities, long range flight times and stuff. So if we see these lights appear on the mountain from our position, which is located 2 to 3 miles, I think it is, or kilometers in front of the mountain, this drone will then just go straight up and out within 5 to 10 minutes, hopefully, with thermals and infrareds. It's an expensive bit of kit. We've luckily been provided this from a drone company who are going to lend this to us. I'm actually going to be sent on a drone course to learn how to fly it and all this stuff. I'm nervous as hell. So yeah, it's, you know, we've got that. We're taking trail cameras out. So at the peak of the mountain where the lights have been seen, we're going to be placing trail cams in multiple positions to see what occurs. And then on top of that, just old school boots on the ground. You know, we're going to be going up the mountain again, like we did in season 1, but this time we're going to be going up at night, which I'm a little bit anxious about because it was hard enough in the daytime to scale a high peak, but nighttime, we'll see. It's going to be interesting, but the good thing is that the team that we had last year were so inspirational, and we kind of really helped each other, that this year with a bigger team, it's just going to be amazing as well. Oh, look, Elena's here. Here we go. New teammate in the house. She says, join us. What an opportunity. I'll be bringing my tri-field meter and tuning forks. Takes all kinds. Absolutely. There we go. There we go. I can't wait to meet Elena and do the amazing work that we're going to do and have a great time all at the same time. And Walter's here as well. Walter says the RTH button is your lifeline. I guess that's return to home. Well, look, this new drone that I've got apparently is like really, it does a lot for itself. And I know that the drone we had last time did, but this one, I think it's like an idiot's drone. And I'd like to think I'll be good at it, but you just never know, do you? So yeah, I guess the RTH button better be pretty big in the center, like a bang, and I need to hear it. So yeah, Colombia is going to be awesome. We've pretty much covered that. Ashley was meant to join me now to talk about that, but he hasn't made it. We were on Instagram Live before. I sent him the link. He might be having tech issues with his computer. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're winging it. We're winging it here. So yeah. So only really leaves me a couple of more things that I want to talk about. And what I am going to do, I'm going to take a break for 2 minutes. I'm going to give Ashley a call to see if he can join it. So I'm going to play the new intro, which you might have seen at the start. And I will be back in 2 minutes, guys.
They were complex narratives of being taken by alien beings into UFOs on beams of light.
The Air Force is trying to cover up with a picture of Venus and the moon.
From my own point of view, I'm going to be very disappointed if UFOs turn out to be nothing more than visitors from another planet, because I think there could be something much more interesting.
I'm not telling you that. The United States government is telling you that.
All right, guys. Thank you for that. I just tried ringing Ashley and I couldn't get through. So let's move on. Yorne's comment here, this is quite cool. So she says we should do a Dutch meetup in Amsterdam when Vinnie has his layover. So for anybody who is in Holland, I am actually going to be on my return from Colombia in April, because I have to fly and have all these different changes to get back to England. I am going to be in Amsterdam for a day/night. So if anybody in Holland wants to come and meet up in Amsterdam, that would be cool. At the moment, I plan on just kind of mooching around and walking around and sleeping at the airport, you know, just having a late night in Amsterdam, seeing the place. It'd be great to meet anybody that wants to come and hang out. So yeah, bear that in mind. But again, these are the kind of things that I'm going to announce a lot nearer to the time to do kind of things like that. So that's a great point though, Yorne. Right. I see a few questions have come in. I've put them in the kind of little starred section where I can go back over them after I've covered things. I guess the next thing I want to talk about is 2022 was the first year where I really got to experience UFO conferences. Now, you know, we all know that with the pandemic that these kind of things shut down for 2-3 years. And so I never went to conferences in the past. I was more kind of a researcher. So spent a decade sat in front of this computer and other computers, just late night researching. So I never did the whole conference thing. So 2022 really allowed me to really experience that here in the UK for the first time, with 2 conferences in Manchester, 1 in Blackpool, and it was incredible. I just really understand that when you go to conferences, it's not necessarily about the speakers being on stage and presenting. You know, talking heads talking about the same thing over and over again can get a little bit monotonous, let's say. So the one thing that I really found was that the connections that you make when you're just talking to everyone else that's there, but you know, when it's a downtime and then the breaks between speakers was just simply incredible. So I'm actually going to be doing the whole UK conference circuit again this year, but I'm actually going to be speaking myself at 2 conferences, both in the US. So I'm going to go over the 2 conferences that I'm going to be speaking at, but this is Ashley. So Phenomenology says, hi, mate, sorted. I don't see you in the green room, though, dude. You can come in, but we pretty much have covered it. If you want to jump into the green room. But I think we've pretty much covered Phenomenology. It's up to you, man. It's totally up to you. I am going to sort of move on to the first conference that I'm going to be speaking at, which is, in fact, I'm going to do it like this, which is UFO Expert Expo, which is arranged by Tom Reed, who is from the 1969 Berkshire UFO sighting. This is his event. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the event, but it is at this amazing convention center in Roswell. It is March the 10th, 11th, and 12th. It is it's a big event. You know, it's going to be. I think there's a. It's here. It says it here. UFO Mixer and Film Festival as well. So some of the speakers, you got Mike Barra, Tom Reed himself, Travis Walton, James Fox, Rhiannon Ali, Ben Hansen, Mark D'Antonio, Daryl Sims, Frank Render. Then we've got Toby, Shane, and Mike from the Roswell UFO Symposium podcast. There's a UFO museum. These are the movies that are going to be showing. So, you know, Moment of Contact, Terror in the Sky, all the ones that you can see there. Then these are the virtual guests. So, you know, Caroline Corey, Don Schmidt, Jesse Marcel III. So many. And look down here at the bottom. Who's this guy? So, yeah, I'm going to be speaking there along with my colleague at UAP Media UK, Mr. Ryan Sprague. And above me is my good friend, Brittany Barbieri. So this is going to be like an amazing experience for me. My first ever sort of speaking conference thing. It's going to be like short though, I think, and virtual. So it's not going to be like majorly stressful, let's say, or all that. You know, I know I keep thinking to myself, I have been hosting a podcast for 1.5 years and done so many interviews with so many big names, but I tell this to people all the time, the nerves never go away. You know, there's a thing to be said about throwing yourself and putting yourself out there. I spent so long behind the scenes in the background of this subject that to say I've been doing a podcast for 1.5 years and maybe social media for 2 years, add that to the 10 plus years that I was researching, it's like I'm still not used to it. And so I'm all in. I just jump in at the deep end with everything I do. So there we go, you know. But again, all the information, if you are interested in attending UFO Expo in March, the link is in the description of this video. You know, I know conferences aren't for everyone, and it's, you know, some people you may kind of dislike, let's say, and other, you know, this is the thing with conferences, that I find value in it where the value comes from. For me, you know, there are speakers at these conferences that don't interest me, and that's fine, but I'll always be respectful to those people and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, it's difficult in this subject, as you all know, if you're on UFO Twitter, that it can get very, very nasty, and I do my utmost to stay above that level of nonsense. And it is nonsense because it doesn't help the subject, and that's what we're here for. So yeah, so that's the UFO Expo hosted by Tom Reed. I have to give a massive shout out to Tom Reed. He's going to be a guest on this show in, I think, 2 weeks' time. We're going to be talking about his incident, 1969 Berkshire UFO incident. It is covered in an episode of Unexplained Mysteries, I think it is, on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, it's season 1. I forget which episode, but if you have Netflix, look for Unexplained Mysteries. I think that's what it's called. and you'll see Berkshire UFO 1969. It's a fantastic episode. Go and check it out. Next up is, I mean, I'm not going to be able to show much because the website isn't really built yet, but this is like the big one for me. No offense to the other ones, but the Roswell Incident, which is a conference again. This is put on by the Roswell Daily Record newspaper. This is the newspaper that broke the Roswell story in 1947. So this is from, I think it's don't hold me to this, but I think it's June 30th to July 2nd, I believe. So it's a three-day event in Roswell again, another conference. This one I am actually going to be at in person. I am flying out a couple of days earlier to fly into Texas. I'm going to spend a day or a night in Lubbock, checking out kind of the Lubbock lights. Not that they're a thing anymore. That was like decades back, but I'm going to spend a night in Lubbock with the guys from the Roswell Daily Record. Then we're going to make the journey up to Roswell, spend 3 days at the conference. I'm actually going to be doing a full onstage presentation on all my work. I'm not going to say too much. Yeah, so this is like the big one for me. This is the full in-person big conference where I have to stand up on a stage. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun because I get to meet so many people in person, and that's what I thrive on. I know Dan is going to be coming up. Dan's going to be with me in Colombia with Ashley and that, and then Dan's going to come up to meet me in Roswell. I already know Toby from the Roswell Daily Record, and Shane and some of the guys from the Roswell Symposium podcast are going to be there. Ben Hansen's going to be there. I think Katie Howland's going to be there. So many friends that I've made online are going to be there that I know already. So to meet them for the first time is going to be incredible, but also just to meet everybody else, because, you know, being a speaker, they kind of throw you at a table and people get to come up to you and meet you. And I just can't wait to meet so many people. I'm all about making connections and just talking UFOs. I could talk UFOs day in, day out, but I just love that face-to-face interaction, as I'm sure a lot of you probably feel the same. You know, in my everyday life, away from this desk, that way or that way, if I go away from this show, I don't really get a lot of opportunities to talk about it because, you know, there aren't many people around here in the north of England that want to have the kind of conversations that I want to have. This is why I spend a lot of time researching online, on social media, on this channel, having interviews with people so that I can just have that conversation. It's a passion. It's full time. It's everything to me. So there we go. So much coming up for me. This is only the start of we're on the 4th of January. I know there's other things in the works that I can't talk about right now for 2023. And yeah. Elena says, you'll be so close to Area 51, Skinwalker, and Mount Wilson ranches and the Grand Canyon. Any plans to travel around the Roswell area? This is the thing, Elena. We had to base this on flying in. I could have flown into Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Lubbock, Texas, both about 3 hours away from Roswell. So we chose Lubbock because it's famous for the Lubbock lights. I get to spend a night there. That's amazing. Then in Roswell at the conference, 3 days of awesomeness doing that. I guess if I have any spare time away from the conference, it'll be visiting areas around Roswell, potentially the crash site. I know it's private property, but we, fingers crossed, may be able to get access to the possible crash site and stuff like that and things like that. So I doubt I'll be able to go further afield to Area 51 and that. I'll save that for another trip, another year, because there are going to be many, many more. So I don't want to be on the road a lot. You know, the flights from the UK out there are 20 plus hours, and I'm only going to be there for 5 days. So yeah, we'll see. I've just got so much going on. I'm just so excited. And one thing I am going to do that I haven't said at all is for every trip I take this year, so be it Colombia, Roswell, I'm going to be filming the whole thing kind of behind the scenes to put together a full like video to put out on YouTube. So, you know, like a behind the scenes vlog, let's say. It's something I didn't do last year in Colombia, which I really wanted to do, but I didn't and regretted it. So this time I'm going to do it in Colombia. I'm not going to give away any of the secrets of what's actually happening in the documentary series, but I'm going to be giving an everyday kind of me behind the scenes, chilling in weird places in mountains and stuff. And then in Roswell, in Lubbock, Texas, and when we're not at doing important things at the conference, just hanging out with people, I'll be filming it. So I'm going to put out some pretty cool videos there. I just need a good editor. I'm not the best. But that's it, guys, for what's coming up for me so far in 2023. Obviously, I'm working still for UAP Media UK. We're such a tight-knit group that the plans for that are just to keep doing what we're doing. We're liaising with the mainstream media here in the UK. That's gone really well this past year. It's only going to get better. We're still trying to break down the communications within the Ministry of Defense. Stop getting these boilerplate responses to all our freedom of information requests and anything like that. We'll get there in the end. I think a lot of you, if you are in any of the European cities, you'll understand that the conversation is really difficult to have, when it comes to the government and the media. But we're trying to break down those barriers, and we'll continue to do so. And as you know, all of my colleagues at UAP Media UK are doing their own thing away from the UAP Media thing. Dan and Andy doing that UFO podcast. Dan's got his podcast. He's traveling the world. Graham Rendell's just an absolute writing machine, whether it be articles or his incredible books that he puts out. Dave as well is doing the podcast with Graham and is just one of the most knowledgeable guys, in the subject. He's just amazing. And I can't wait to actually do more with Dave. Just such a cool guy. Ryan as well. Ryan Sprague is now a part of the team since he's moved over here to the UK. And Ryan's just amazing. Everybody, you got to love Ryan Sprague. He's a good dude. He's so experienced in this field when it comes to the work, whether it be research, whether it be on screen, podcast, everything. And then obviously, finally, Dr. David Clark, just amazing. The work that I've been able to do with him and the friendship that we formed because we live so close is great. So, yeah. There we go. So let's move on to the questions that I have from you guys. If anybody else has any other questions about anything, I'll do my best to get to them. So first up, Fifi Barbara says, favorite book on the UFO subject? Man, really difficult. Really, really difficult. The one thing I will say is I can't answer that with one book. There were so many influential books for me over the past year or two. My recommendation would be to go over to Priscilla's channel, so Quantum Witch Cafe, check out UAP Book Club and look at the books that we read last year. And we all give really good views on a wide spectrum of topics within the UFO subject. We looked at all sorts of different things from the books that we read. So I'm going to kind of skip that one a little bit. The book I'm reading, I'll tell you what, the book I'm reading at the moment is Earthlights Revelation by Paul Devereaux. So it's about UFOs and Earthlights and that kind of thing, the kind of stuff that we're studying in Colombia as well. So that's a great book. And I have to give a shout out. A lot of you are aware that I interviewed the 747 cargo pilots, Christian Van Heist, in November. And since then, Christian's been, let's say, very ingrained in the UFO subject, speaking to some very influential people, which will all become clear this year. And I can't wait because that interview broke free a lot of things for pilots. And so I want to just give a shout out because he sent me a copy of his book, which is called Cargo Pilot. And it's just amazing photography taken from the cockpit of his 747. So I wanted to give shout out to Christian for that as well. So great book. Thank you for that question, Fifi. I'm sorry I kind of dodged that one. I don't, favorite book is like saying what's your favorite movie, what's your favorite song of all time. I find those really, really difficult. Next up, Paul Morgan says, any news on the search for the photographers of the Calvin incident? I mean, I think I've given a couple of updates here briefly, very, very briefly, and on Instagram, when I've done a few Instagram lives, I've had people asking the same question. We have been working our butts off since August, since the release of the Calvin photograph, to track down the photographers. It is so difficult, mainly because of the time that's gone by. You know, we've had people go up to archives in the small villages and towns in Scotland to flick through physical documents from 30 years ago to try and track down leads. We then feel like we're making headway for a few weeks before hitting a brick wall and then back to square one. And we have a couple more leads to go, and I will just reiterate what I've said before, is that when and if we have any major progress, we will provide an update on this channel with Dr. Clark and possibly the other guys in the team. But at this moment, we can't give anything conclusive other than the fact that it is ongoing. You know, it took David 14 years to get to the photograph, and we're not even 6 months since it's been released to get to who we want to talk to, which is the photographers. So unfortunately, these things take time. That's all I can say. I wish I could give you more positive kind of answers than that. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything, because like I said, there've been so many leads that and avenues. We've spoken to people that knew the photographers. There are so many little nuanced, weird aspects to this story that you could write a book on it. It's not just straightforward. It's like a crime scene drama series you'd see on mainstream TV or something. It's so bizarre. But that's neither here nor there when it comes to what we want and in the UFO subject. And that's kind of answers from witnesses and photographs, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we'll give more when we can. Resi Tuber says, who is the most credible UAP witness you spoke with in 2022? How do you define credibility? Is that backed up by evidence, as in data? You know, there's not much data in the UFO subject. We talk about military witnesses and there's radar data and sensor systems, but maybe you guys can help me in the chat. Like, who do you think's the most credible person that I've spoken to in 2022? Because I don't know. Credible. I mean, I've spoken to some incredible people in 2022. You know, I've spoken to Avi Loeb a few times. I think he's credible. Harvard professor. I've spoken to Gary Nolan, Lou Elizondo. I mean, James Fox. I mean, what's credible to me might not be credible to someone else. And, you know, I don't want to obviously get involved in that kind of argument or conversation, but I've been lucky enough to speak to some of the best people in this subject. And I never really, you can see I'm bad with what's your best book, who's your best this, who's your best. Don't ask me those questions, because obviously I'm rubbish. So yeah, I guess the ones I've named, you know, the Gary Nolans, the Avi Loebs, and people like that. You know, I'm just David Marler. That's a good one. I just saw Diego Diaz says, "Have you considered interviewing David Marler?" I have. I've interviewed David Marler. I interviewed him, I think it was about summertime 2022. Diego, go and check it out on this channel. It was again, that was one of my favorite interviews, and I hate saying that because I don't want to make anybody think that their interviews weren't as good. But David I'm a big fan of his work and have been for a long time. For years back, from when I was just doing research behind the scenes before I even became known in this subject in any way, shape, or form, David Marler was a huge inspiration. So to have an interview with him was an honor. So yeah, there we go. Zach Wallace says, how soon do you expect to start hearing details about whistleblower testimony to Arrow? To be brutally honest, if at all, not for a long time. The language in the NDAA really sort of spoke to people being able to come forward to the committees privately, you know, behind closed doors in that kind of closed setting aspect. So to hear anything from it from the public officially, I'm not putting any hope in that in anytime soon, possibly not even for a few years. I don't know. I don't like to be that kind of negative person. I'm usually quite positive, but based on the language and the 33 pages of UAP related content in the NDAA, I just don't see anything like that becoming public anytime soon officially. Not to say it won't come out by leaks and stuff, but the thing is with leaks is that you can't verify them because they're leaks. So I hope that answers your question. Next question. Jos says, Vinnie, Lou Elizondo said that 2023 will bring a breakthrough, but not 100% disclosure. Any inside info on this from him? No, there's no inside info. I am lucky enough to speak to Lou on a very regular basis. There's nothing other than that he said to me that it's, you know, I'm just going to be happy the fact that we're going to continue progressing this subject in the new, you know, in this year, 2023, as you know, I'm starting to learn to stop relying on and focusing so much on this government aspect. You know, that's something that I really put a lot of weight in 2022. This year, not so much. I'm going to be focused on a lot more aspects. There's a lot of new studies coming soon as well, which are going to be announced from people that I know on other aspects of the phenomena, which I think I'm going to try and sort of get involved in as well. I'm spreading my wings even further this year to not just sit and wait for one thing to happen, that there are multiple avenues that I could be working on, because nobody likes a quiet period in this subject. It's boring. It's frustrating when there's downtime and like, when's something going to happen? So what I've decided to do is just, if I can't do anything on this, I'm going to do something with this. If I can't do something with this, I'm going to do something. Do you see what I mean? I want to keep working in multiple aspects of the subject. So yeah, fingers in multiple pies, as they say here in the UK. Christian, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for all you do. What do you think will come of the new NDAA in 2023? Pretty much kind of similar to what I said, that I don't think we're going to learn too much publicly, but the fact that Congress, who have been asking for information for the past year or two with previous NDAA legislation, they've been asking in, you know, I think it's 3 years in a row now, we've had UFO language, UAP language in the NDAA. So as long as that keeps progressing and the people in Congress are starting to get people talking to them about what's been going on, you know, this year they've really asked again a lot. They're asking to the Arrow office to start looking into stuff going back as far as 1945. I mean, if we get anything, it'll be good. Or not so much if we get anything, but if Congress gets something, then it's a good thing. It's just progression. I still always think to the statement that Lou Elizondo says is that if you can't be patient, come back in 5 years. And I'm willing to wait another 5 years. I know people then say, yeah, but we've been waiting 75, 80 years. Well, we have as a community. I haven't. It's all good. You know, everyone's different and their threshold and levels of patience. I can wait a little bit longer. It's frustrating for some more than others. I get it. This subject isn't the easiest subject to be in. So it is what it is. Everyone's different. Everyone's opinion is different. And this is what I keep realizing. I had a really, really interesting thread on Instagram earlier where I was talking about exactly the same thing. It's like, I've spoken to so many people in this subject, not just on my channel, but privately, that you realize that very, very few people have the same outlook on this subject. And that the only way that we can move forward is just by respecting the differences of opinion in this subject. And the moment we start eating ourselves alive from the inside, like we see on Twitter all the time, that's when failure starts to happen. We fail as researchers, we fail as human beings, you know. Differences of opinion happen in every aspect of our life. Why can't people realize that? I find it crazy, but here we are. Here we are. The last question I've got here is from Vorak. Any behind the scenes words on any new documentaries in the works? a good question. I hear about things all the time, but people like to talk, don't they? Oh, I'm making a documentary. There's this coming out and that. And until I see something, or James Fox has announced he's working on something new already. There's always something in the works. The Leslie Kane documentary series that was meant to air on CNN I think that was meant to be aired in late 2022, which I think is now not even going to go out on CNN. It's going to be out on another network or streaming service or something in 2023. That's going to be interesting. No, my focus is on phenomenology, obviously. That's all I really know about. Oh, wait. That's reminded me. I did an interview with UK researcher Paul Sinclair. He's working on a documentary called Wolflands, which is going to be out early 2023, springtime, maybe. That's going to be interesting, that's for sure. So yeah, there's always stuff to keep us interested. So yeah, I'm surprised I managed 56 minutes doing this solo show. I am not one for this kind of stuff. I get nervous, I get anxiety. You guys have been awesome in the live chat. I really do appreciate great questions. Yeah, I'm sorry if I missed a lot of your. I'm just going to say here, like, have you seen the Moment of Contact documentary? What do you think? Absolutely, yeah. I'm lucky enough to be in a position now where I get to see most documentaries, and I thought Moment of Contact was great. James went out to Brazil. He interviewed a load of people. He put it in a documentary and presented it to the world. Everyone can take from that what they want. People saying that he's a grifter or he's not giving us anything new. I don't care about that. I found it interesting. He's getting out there and he's doing the work, and that's what I find really inspiring. And then luckily I've spoken to James, and he's just a cool guy. So yeah. And one thing as I will say as well is that it's really good. I try and watch everything I can on this subject, whether it be from stuff that is considered not good, and I watch the good stuff. I like to have an overall picture of everything that's happening in this subject. So you've got to take the bad with the good. You've got to watch the bad and watch the good. If you only focus on this and you never focus on this other side, then how are you ever going to have a good overview of the entire subject, So, oh man, I'm seeing so many comments, guys. Thank you so much. I think that's I just saw this. Where'd you get all those dope threads? Your field wardrobe is especially fire. Takes months of prep, Jay. It takes months of preparation. You got to look good on the camera, and I'm absolutely kidding, man. There's something to be said for plain tops. Plain tops. Go plain. That's my secret. Oh, that's hilarious. Good to see you, Jay, man. I think you just did a show with Sean, which I'm going to go and check out later on. But listen, guys, we're just literally coming up to an hour. I just wanted to do a bit more of a light-hearted kind of start to the year on this channel. I'm looking forward to another great year. I don't know what to do. Maybe you guys can answer this then. I've been doing interviews and pretty much nothing but interviews on this channel since I started it. And I'd kind of like to do more stuff on this channel, but I don't know what to do. I don't have the time to spend a week or two or longer researching a specific UFO case to then present it as a video on this channel. So I don't know. What do you think? Maybe I should look for a co-host. That's something I've been thinking about for a while now. Is it time to, Sean Rush did it. We got the wonderful J. Christopher King as the co-host. Ryan Sprague did it last year. He got Chrissy Newton in as a co-host. Maybe it's time for me to kind of to do that as well. So, interesting. I want to do it. It's just finding the right person. Carolina says, we want more of these, Vinny. Seriously? Did you not see how nervous and that I was through the whole thing? I felt really awkward through that whole hour. As much as I enjoyed it and talking about it, I don't feel natural. Like I'm not a natural host of a solo panel, like a solo show. I normally I get a question and then I get to sit back and wait while the guest answers for like 5 minutes, you know? But thank you. I mean, it's nice to know that you guys are saying those cool things and nice things. So cheers. Awakening to Reality says, good to push your comfort zone. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the whole channel started because I went out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to bring up all your kind comments because I don't need, you know, I don't want to cringe at that ego boost. But thank you guys. Ashley's here. Oh, Ashley. And you sipped way less of the good stuff tonight too, more focused. I guess so. Yeah. Because when a guest's on, I can sort of sit back and like, yeah. Have a little sippy. So yeah, maybe yeah, that's a great point. That's where you grow out of your comfort zone. Cheers, Vinny. Thank you, Yorne. And that's right. You know, maybe I do another one of these. I do a 5 of these and then 10 of these, you know. You guys, this is the thing. You guys are so inspirational. Thank you so much. It gives me food for thought going forward because there are so many channels out there doing the interviews of all the big names. And I love having those opportunities, but I don't want to get lost in that. It's just another show doing an interview with the same talking heads. I don't want to get lost in that. So I want to evolve into something else, which is difficult because what else can you talk about in the UFO community besides speaking with, you know, experienced researchers, experiences, and other people in the field? And, you know, you look, there's a lot of channels that do solo content, but I don't know. I didn't think I had it in me. Maybe we'll see. Vinny needs to come out with his own red wine line. I need to stop drinking. I certainly don't have a problem, but it's not the best thing to be known for, is it? Alcohol. It's all good. It's all good. So guys, look, we've just hit 1 hour and 2 minutes. I'm gonna end the show here, and I'm actually gonna head back over to Instagram and do another Instagram live. So if you're interested and you're here now, do that. If not, and you're listening or watching this after the fact, then thank you so much. I really do appreciate everything. I hope to bring you some amazing content in 2023. But all I can say is that I'll do my best, and that's all I can do. I pride myself on putting in the effort, and if somebody else likes it, then yeah, if just one person likes it, I'm happy. So thank you guys, and Happy New Year. I hope you all had a great Christmas, and that January is good for you going into the busy year and an exciting year that I think we're going to have. So guys, thank you so much. I'm going to end it with my new little intro, and I will hopefully see some of you on Instagram. If not, I'll be back next week with Sherilyn Carter to talk about her work around Skinwalker Ranch and remote viewing. So if I don't see you, I will see you then. Take care. Goodbye.
They were complex narratives of being taken by alien beings into UFOs on beams of light.
The Air Force is trying to cover up with a picture of Venus and the moon.
From my own point of view, I'm going to be very disappointed if UFOs turn out to be nothing more than visitors from another planet, because I think there could be something much more interesting.
I'm not telling you that. The United States government is telling you that.